she is Ottawa's own. Country tunes with a heartfelt tone. From Nashville sounds to hometown shows, her music's where the passion flows. Now she's joined us here on TRS, sharing stories with pure finesse, with melodies that touch the soul. Brea songs will make you whole.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show.
I love that.
We have Brea Lawrenson here, award-winning country musician, and Josh has the guts to play AI-generated music as her intro.
So cool. I've never had that before. AI.
How long did it take you, Josh?
Not long enough. It should take much longer than it did.
I know, right? How do they do this?
Anybody looking for good Valentine's Day gifts, go to Sono.ai, write up a song, you're off the hook, guys. Cost you nothing, takes 2 minutes. You can even have it make up the lyrics.
Wow. That's amazing.
Unlike you, how long does it take you, and this is totally out of order from my question asking, about how long does it take you to write the fastest song?
The fastest song. So the fastest song I've ever written, I would say, came to me about 10 minutes.
From beginning to end lyrically too? Or?
Yeah, like I literally had to, I was driving and I had to pull over so that I could write it all down because it was just coming. And it's weird. I can't control when it all comes. It's almost like channeling, if I could say that.
All right.
But, yeah.
I need to dig in more here. I'm totally screwing my old question order here.
It's all good.
Can you tell me, do you have the ability to put yourself into that state a little bit? Or is it just something that can just hit you?
Yeah, so that's a great question because I've done it both ways. A lot of the time I just rely on my intuition and my ability to just all of a sudden, oh, I hear it. Like I hear the song. But then when I go to Nashville, there's so many people that do it like as a day job from like 10 to 5. And they'll have like 2 writing sessions with 2 different artists, from like one from 10 to 12 and then the next one from 1 to 4, whatever. And they have to do it like a job. And I've done it a few times that way, and it's harder for me. But you get better at it the more you do it, and if you follow the formula and you think, okay, this is the first verse, so what's next? But like if you just treat it that way as a routine, you can get really good at it for sure.
So routine or not routine for you, typically, do you know where you want the start and end points of a song to be, like where you want to take the character and then you write around that, or do you write that first verse and just see what happens?
Yeah, I usually, because writing songs have gotten me through a lot of things in life. It's more like it's very therapeutic for me.
Narrative.
So it's gotten me through a lot of stuff. So if I'm going through a lot of crap, then I'm just like writing all the time, or it's just kind of coming to me right like all the time. But it's that way for me. It's very spontaneous, and it's kind of like, okay, I need to pull over right now and write all these words down before I forget them.
You know? I love the fact that you pull over to do it too. You're like, you know what? This is way more important than being on time, or this is.
Well, it is for sure.
I love it.
Because my songs are like, I call them my diamonds. I go to Nashville to find more diamonds, or I go to Nashville with my, diamonds in the rough. And then I go to the studio and I do record it all with the band, and it turns into this thing that makes me money as long as it gets played on Sirius XM and the channels. So yeah, for sure they're like my little diamonds.
I love it. And they just need cut and polished a little bit, and they're yours.
Yes, all mine.
I'm going to get back into the question order. I want to find out like about you, where you're from, all that sort of what made you you. So we always start at the top with this. You're from Ottawa, or you currently live in Ottawa. Where were you
Yeah.
born?
I was actually born in Richmond Hill in Toronto.
Okay.
So we lived there
Cool.
for about a month of my life, and then we moved to Carleton Place, Ontario, which is like 3-4 hours east of like Toronto area. And I've been here. I grew up here. This is my hometown where
This,
I'm at right now.
this is home. This is
Yep,
home.
I
I love it.
came back home.
I've had journeys in my life where I thought I was going to be somewhere, and I still came back to Pittsburgh. I love it here. I don't.
Really? Yeah,
How stupid that sounds to some people. Even if I moved away to my tropical island that I dream of,
I
it's
know.
still going to be a home.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But I know you started music. You started. My notes say you started writing and releasing music at age 13.
Yeah.
Who was that girl like? Right before she wrote her first song, what did music change in her?
That's a great question. I was about 12 years old. No, I started singing when I was 8 and taking lessons. But then I started performing when I was 12 or 13, recorded my first album when I was 15. But before those days, singing was like a way for me to get away from reality. It was like a way for me to, I guess, anti-stress, like just to release stress, release whatever. I was so young, I didn't know what the heck I was going through, but I always wanted to express myself through song. So I think I wrote my first song when I was 12, and I was going through a lot of I remember I being bullied when I was a young girl, and not understanding why I wasn't accepted the same way as certain other kids are. I'm also
Right.
very shy. I'm very naturally, I'm an introvert in in truth. And
A
my
lot of
because
performers are.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, and
the
I've
real
heard
serious
that
performers, the performance is their way to exercise essentially, but
to
it's not their
grow
comfortable
and
state all the time. Yeah.
exactly. Oh, for sure. And it's totally me to a T. I get exhausted when I'm in social interactions. I get exhausted
Even the
easier
ones you
than
love.
even the ones that I love.
Yeah,
Yes.
it
Yeah.
still takes something out of you because
Oh,
I mean, as a performer, you'll know what this sentence means. You're always performing.
exactly.
Um,
You're always
um,
on.
yeah.
Yeah.
If
And
someone
so
else is
that's
in the room,
always jumping out of your comfort zone, which, you know, I used to teach vocal lessons, and I always used to tell my students, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because
mhm,
that's how you're going to grow and evolve and, you know, learn all the things that you need to learn, the tools that you
and
need to
if you're successful, it's a life for you of being uncomfortable.
yeah, exactly. Then
Every
when your
time I
whole
hear it,
social life blows up, you've really made it.
and then it's on the tabloid headlines, and
Yeah.
everybody's following you with the camera. I hope you like being uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, that's it. You got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm,
So music helped you. It helped you express yourself and
mhm.
relax,
Yeah.
and be closer to the person you wanted to be, even though like those terms meant nothing to somebody at that age, I'm sure,
Oh my gosh,
or
yes.
very little. Like, I just know I feel better. So your
Yeah.
parents supported you in this. I'm betting just on the notes I have.
Yeah.
How did the conversations throughout your growing up years go with like, you want to do this, then you better do this, or was it like,
Mhm.
okay, how did that
Yeah.
relationship go?
So my mom was and still is my backbone. She always knew that I wanted to do music for a living and for real. So she took me all over when I was young. She helped me, and I joined a talent agency, and then I started performing all over, like every single weekend we were gone. My mom was driving me to fairs, festivals, galas, um, corporate events, and I was with my mentor, who was a part of the talent agency. He was known as the singing policeman, Dominic Darcy, and he taught me everything about about being professional at that young age, because I was meeting a lot of people, and he taught me how to, you know, introduce myself properly and basically to treat it as a job. And I was so young and I was exposed to all that. So I knew that it could happen and I could do this if I really wanted to. But I always had people in my family that were like, really, like, Brie, what are you doing? Even though I
Yeah.
had such good success at the beginning, I had my first, when I was 15, I recorded my first album. I had my first record deal and my first like company official investors that invested into my career.
Right.
And we did like 3 albums. We went to the UK and we recorded with one of Elton John's producers from the 70s. Like we had a lot of great success when I was young. And
Yeah, constant movement forward. But I'm sure,
yeah,
there were people like, well, she's young and cute, of course.
yeah,
But what's she gonna do for a living? When's
yeah.
she get, like,
Like,
yeah,
what's your
uh,
plan B? That's what they always said.
uh,
What's your plan B?
starve.
Yeah. I always said I was totally screwed the first time I was paid to sing because I knew then that there was gonna be nothing else I would rather do and get paid for, you know, that I loved that much.
That's a song right there. Like, the
Yeah.
first time you sang and you knew, "This is it."
Yeah.
I mean,
This
that's
is it.
amazing.
Oh
I
gosh.
I I spent years with vocal lessons. I've always loved singing. I never had that moment, which is probably why I never went into music like I did. I was hopefully of course, I was in bands and all that stuff, but never
Oh, cool.
seriously. But, like, I
Yeah.
love hearing the people that do something and it just clicks. This is it. Those are
Mhm.
the stories that you hear from everybody who's made it too. Very
Right.
rarely, like, I don't know, I fell over backwards and I got this big gig is a rare
Yep.
story. People who love it, breathe it, and know it
Mhm.
is a recurring theme. So that's really
Persistence. Yeah, for
awesome to
sure.
hear.
Yep.
And the work, yeah. So the work involved vocal training too. Like I'm sure you thought you were good and were good, but how did you approach vocal training
Oh,
early
for
on
sure.
and
Yeah.
even later on as
Yeah,
your voice
it's a
changed?
labor of love. Oh, yeah, for sure, and it's just like, they say about everything, you have to if you don't practice it, then you won't get better. If you
Hmm.
don't use it, you'll lose it. Like, there's a total thing to that. I had to I mean, I was singing every single weekend, but on the same time, I was always going to my vocal classes. I started actually, when I first started singing lessons, I started doing opera, and I learned how to sing in classical training. I learned how to sing Ave Maria in Latin, and I won first place for classical, the classical, uh, spot for the Montreal vocal music, competition. So
How
there's,
old were
like
you around that when this
I
happened?
was, 13, I'd say.
Wow. And Ave Maria is a breathing teaching song. Like
Ave oh,
you have
yeah.
to learn how to breathe throughout that song
Maria.
requires it in and out.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, for
and at
sure.
13, it's impressive. Like to
Thanks.
approach it, I think. Yeah.
I always said well, and when I started singing in school in the choir, my vocal teacher said that I was like a little pitch pipe, they said. So I always sang, soprano, which is the melody, but I could sing all the harmonies as well if they wanted me to. So if there was a
Oh,
section,
beautiful.
like if the alto section was having trouble with their parts, then they would put me into the alto section. They would and
To
then
kind of
I'd sing
lead.
those. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that the rest could follow along easier.
Can you
My
guess
mom
what I
always
was in choir?
I feel like you would be mhm. Were you a tenor?
No.
Alto?
Beso, beso.
Oh, you were baritone bass.
Do you know how boring that that position is in
No.
any like think it's a little drummer boy. Pum,
Rum pum pum.
rum. But no, 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 that's like one little section in the middle. You could go pum, 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 pum. The rest of the song is just wake up the. It's just horrible.
Yeah,
But I
that's
loved
so cool
choir. I
though.
loved
Yeah,
the teamwork of what you had at the end.
for
Of
sure.
everybody, and everybody really helped. That's the one thing I could say about choir. I was a metalhead, very much long hair, all the things. But I joined choir not for the easy credit because I wanted to learn how to sing, because I thought metal would be better if you knew how to sing. And I just remember my best memories, and this is years later, were how we helped each other. And the musicians in a group is an amazing thing, of any style, of any whatever they're working on. It's just, when you what was it like with you your first time working with other musicians to create a song? And we're starting, and you could move it on to what it's like now, but I'm just curious, like the first time you walk in a room and you're like, I'm gonna do this, and like, no, we are.
Yeah, like the first time I went to Nashville,